Morning, folks. Joining you today from Thousand Oaks, the Civic Arts Plaza, right downtown Thousand Oaks. This is the new start for the Phil's Cookie Fondo. We're going to take you today on a tour of Phil's Cookie Fondo. We're going to do a recon ride for the folks who are signed up, maybe haven't done it before, or folks who are thinking about it. And maybe I can convince you to come join us October 23rd in Malibu. So this area is all going to be dressed up with tents and chairs and fun booths and people with bikes. It is a new start location this year. We used to start down in Oxnard, which is like another 20 minutes north. We're able to get one that's closer to LA, closer to the city. So it's the same route. It's just sort of rotated like 12 miles forward, if that makes sense. I'll show you. Come on, I'll show you. I've been riding 11 minutes. We're out of town and on these beautiful little roads. We have 2 days of riding. Saturday is kind of the shorter day. Sunday is the main event. So there's, you know, folks who fly in from Ottawa, Vancouver, whatever. You got 2 rides if you wanna go for it. And for that day, we keep it smaller because that's a little bit further south, and those roads a little bit closer to the city. So perfectly safe, really awesome climbs out there, but stuff I wouldn't necessarily want to take 1,200 people on. For Sunday, that's the main event. We've got 4 routes, starting at like 30 miles for the mini ship. And we've got the sugar cookie, which is about 50 miles, the chocolate chip, which is 85 miles, and the double fudge, which is 102. Now, a lot of folks, you sign up for a ride and you think, oh, I gotta do 100 miles. Not here. I do the chocolate chip. I recommend the chocolate chip. Double fudge is great. That's kind of for people who are a little bit crazy. Like, we're gonna get a lot of good stuff. The sugar cookie does this area, the chocolate chip. All the rides have incredible roads. Double fudge for a lot of people might be too much of a good thing. You know, come do the chocolate chip with me. Either way, you'll enjoy it. Now, you might notice when you're doing Phil's Cookie Fondo that very early in the ride, we're like 15, 20 minutes in now, you'll be on like a 9–10% gradient. Now, you might ask, Phil, why are you such an asshole? And I don't do this because I'm sadistic. I mean, I am a little bit sadistic sometimes, but the reason we have a steep climb at the very beginning is to break up the group for safety reasons. I did a Fondo that shall remain nameless way back in like 2016, and I remember just like being in a pack of, you know, 1,000 dudes for a while and being scared shitless. Yeah, so we had this steep climb to sort of organize the group and split things up and bring it from one giant, you know, mess of a pack to, you know, you'll find your people on these horrible gradients. Anyway, this is Westlake Boulevard, and it is a beautiful, beautiful climb. Like, we'll have coffee for you at the start, so you'll be ready for it. Try and enjoy it. So as you can see, we're in the 12 to 13% category here. You might notice I'm a little bit out of breath. I'm not embarrassed by that, I'll admit. I just took a couple weeks off, did my little off-season break thing. So if you are looking to drop me at my own Fondo, this will be a good year for it. This time of year, you have all this fitness, and instead of like grinding yourself into the ground, I'm just gonna give that fitness away, and I'm gonna rest, get myself back to 0, and bring it on up. So here we are, bringing it on up. Going to this first climb, I think would be a good chance to kind of give you a little history of the Cookie Fondo, what we're doing here and how it started. So I came to LA, really I was training in Big Bear back in 2013. I had a friend in LA, Stefano Barberi, went to visit him, ride with him a little bit, and like, everyone has preconceived notions of Los Angeles, which is like Hollywood Boulevard, 405 traffic, Real Housewives probably. You get the idea. You don't expect anything like this. But as a cyclist, I mean, there's Pacific Coast Highway. It's where we're headed. And then there's the, you know, the valley, which I'm in right now, coming out of. And there's a ridge at the top. Basically, there's just all these climbs from either side up to the top of this ridge of Mulholland Highway that are incredible and pretty empty, like, unless you're one of the Real Housewives who lives in there. But honestly, like, the best place I've ever ridden. Like, I call it a 10-way tie between the best place I've ever ridden, because now it comes down to preference. Now it's who's hotter between, you know, Jennifer Aniston, Angelina Jolie in her prime. Now it's just, you know, what you're into. But it doesn't get any better than this. And it was one, like, I was visiting, I was like, oh, I have to live here. Figured that out. And then when I was a pro, people like, be like, how do you live in Los Angeles and be a pro cyclist? And I was like, oh, let me show you. So this idea for a Fondo, a good friend of mine who I kind of met through bikes here, puts on like running events. So like knew a person who could produce a mass scale bike event. And then the other thing I had was like, well, if I, you know, I was a cookie guy already back then. It's like, if I have a Fondo, I've got to give away cookies. And I'd met this guy named Jeff Mahan, who owns a bunch of restaurants, and he was like, oh, I'd make the cookies for everybody. And I was like, man, it's gonna be like thousands of cookies. He's like, yeah, I can do that. At which point I was like, well, shit, now I have to have a Fondo, so we can show off all the incredible roads here that I love and share that with you, plus the cookies. And Jeff was one of the founders of Chef Cycle, which is a charity of a bunch of chefs who kind of get together and give to, they do an annual bike ride to contribute to No Kid Hungry. And when you put on an event, really, at least in LA County, you have to have a charity partner, or like, you know, it's just the police won't close the roads or help you block the roads. They don't close the roads for anybody around here. But to get a liquor license, to do any event stuff, it's got to be a charity partner. So it's like, all right, cool, we'll use your charity. I didn't really think about it. I was too busy trying to take care of myself for a decade to think about charity and giving back. I was like, cool, charity, box checked. I had the first year of the Fondo. I think we raised like $40,000. And afterwards, like, I did a school visit with a bunch of the Chef Cycle guys, and you're not allowed to show, like, can't take pictures of kids and put in my YouTube video. But take my word for it, what they do is very impactful. And pretty quickly I was like, oh, this was just like an afterthought as far as like which charity I picked. And then I was like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever done. So that's the start of Phil's Fondo. So now we're on, well, a couple gap years there. This is our first year back. Happy to say registration is basically the same as it ever was. I was afraid like people would want to come back after a couple COVID years, lose the momentum, but momentum's right there. So I appreciate all you folks signing up and joining me. And I'm just looking forward to I miss you guys. I miss everybody. But now we're a few years in. A bunch of my partners kick in stuff to do for silent auction for No Kid Hungry. And the event itself has its own title sponsor, which is Matt Construction. All the stuff, like the whole area on Wilshire Boulevard has all the incredible museums, LACMA, the Peterson Automotive Museum. That's all Matt Construction. So they're a big deal. A bunch of them love riding bikes. So if you're on the Fondo and you see someone in a Matt Construction kit, give them a quick thank you, because we wouldn't be here otherwise. And this is like a full charity event, you know, like I think most people know, like the guy with his name on the business gets paid last. That'd be me. I haven't been paid for quite a while, which is fine. It's a charity thing, but it's run on, you know, we pay for the food, we pay the chefs, take a bunch of money to charity. You know, a lot of the folks who are working are getting paid, you know, their rate for their work, but we also run a lot of volunteers and sweat and goodwill and buddies and favors. So kind of just thank everyone. And if someone's effing up, you know, keep it in mind and don't like yell at them, because they're probably there. They probably got up at 4 in the morning to drive here to hand you water bottles, you know? All right, so here we are at Mulholland Highway. Now the sugar cookie route's gonna go right. The other ones will go left here. The sugar cookie will go down to the beach via Mulholland Highway and then back up another steep climb. So that's a shorter route, but it's no joke. Like, there's 2 very steep climbs. You get a lot of great views. Sugar cookie is a good day. But we're doing the chocolate chip, so we're gonna head on Mulholland a little bit towards Latigo. Now you'll see on your left, you will be able to see a camel on Mulholland here. I want you all to know his name is Humphrey. Up here, still on Mulholland, this was a Frank Lloyd Wright house. You can still see the fence. That burned in, I forget if it was 17 or 18. Now from Mulholland, well, the double fudge goes straight. Double fudge will go down Rock Store. Well, the chocolate chip, we're gonna go right onto Canaan and then left up Latigo. This is one of only a couple left turns on the whole Cookie Fondo. Tip, if you're putting on a Fondo, right turns, you know, at least in the US, right turns, obviously you're not crossing traffic. Almost this whole route is only right turns. I tried to avoid any left turns. So, you know, we can't close the road, but you shouldn't. Odds are you can do this whole thing without, other than cookie stops, you're never putting a foot down. Also, from a safety perspective, I want to say, you know, you have had thousands of riders over the years on this Fondo. We've had a couple crashes. I think, like, honestly, only 1 or 2 collarbones, which is pretty good. And that's as bad as it's gotten. I'd like to keep it that way. And I will say, like, a couple of the crashes were folks, you know, trying to take a selfie or a picture on a downhill. So, you know, you might see me doing it. I am professional. Try and keep the phone in the pocket. Also, for safety purposes, when you're descending Latigo, if you see Laird Hamilton, which I just did, don't do a double take. That's him. He's here a lot. He's never wearing a shirt. That's a beautiful man. I'm straight, but that's a beautiful man. You got to stay focused. Sorry for all the safety messages. I do lose sleep every year over the idea of someone getting horribly hurt at my Fondo. The other thing, when you're going downhill, you can have 90% of the fun and 70% of the speed. So keep that in mind. There's just no reason to go ripping corners like crazy when you could just sit up a little bit. So bottom of Latigo, get to the Pacific Coast Highway. At Zuma Beach, we get a few nice breezy coast miles before our first big climb. First long climb is Encinal Canyon. This one, it's a steady gradient, never gets steep. Really great view. So the top of Encinal takes us to the top of Mulholland Highway, which we're going to take all the way down to the coast. Up next, we go a little bit further north on PCH, a little more ocean breeze before the next climb. Now, I took a detour on this ride and went and got a coffee. You will not have to. So in addition to, you know, you sign up, you get the goodie bag, get all kinds of cool free stuff. Of course, you also get the aid stations with the cookies, but also First Endurance, and some traditional bars from JoJ Bars and Bonk Breaker, as well as like some regular fruits and snacks and tasty stuff like that. And we also have some like more involved stops where you'll have to get off the bike, you'll want to hang out. So we got some of those here, including Corsa Pro Coffee will be there. Gooder is going to put together some fun stuff, and you know, we'll ride and then we'll stop and hang out and talk and have cold brew over by the beach. I had to bring my own cookies today in there. Now you've probably seen Neptune's net. in like a million movies. What you wouldn't have seen is Yerba Buena, our next climb. And then from the top of Yerba Buena, which already feels pretty remote, you get to this Cothran Pacific View Road. I consider this the climax of the ride. It's just this twisty, narrow, where the hell am I situation at the top of the ridge. So Cothran turns into Pacific View, turns into Deer Creek Road, which is a crazy steep, fun descent back down to the coast. Now, if you're in the mood, you can stop and stack some rocks over by the coast here as we get up to the rock where we'll turn inland. Next is Potrero Road, which is the last major climb, certainly not least. I'm gonna say last, but kind of the worst. So here's the thing. I mentioned the first climb was meant to like break up the group for safety reasons. Well, this used to be the first climb back. Our start was a few miles back behind me. Since we rotated the whole course forward, you get less driving if you're coming from LA, but you finish with this one. So really, I don't have much excuse other than sadism for this climb, but you know, to be fair, geography, because you know, we got to get up there. The only other way here is really the 101, and you don't want to do that. And this actually is the last part, and it's the worst. So remember that. Pace yourselves. That's all. Just pace yourselves. The last climb's the worst. Know that. All right, that's the top of Potrero. From here, like, the hard part's over. There's a couple, I'm gonna call them bumps. You might consider it a hill, just a cruise through Hidden Valley, and a couple of bumps slash hills till we're back. Now, Hidden Valley, not to confuse with the ranch dressing, that's actually near Santa Barbara, so not far from here, but this is not that Hidden Valley. I don't know where the other Hidden Valley is, you get it? It's hidden. Anyway, all this ranch dressing talk hopefully is getting you hungry, because the food at the end is gonna be phenomenal. A bunch of the chef cycle folks throw down. We'll have one of the best vegan chefs in the city. Jared Simmons will be there. Check out his place, Nick's, on Beverly. We'll have Pokey from Sweet Fin, which is just delicious and refreshing after a nice long ride. Lots of other good stuff. A silent auction for No Kid Hungry. We'll have a super fancy Weiss watch. Those folks, I hit them up when I was doing the whole Cancellara rivalry thing, because I thought it'd be funny to have an American watch versus his Swiss watches. And they've now given like 7 or 8 watches for No Kid Hungry, so they kick ass. Of course, we'll do a factor frame this year, a bunch of other goodies, good times. Hope to see all you folks out there in just a couple weeks now. See you soon.